as well, they are very much more than, or excuse me, more capable than what we have seen so far. They can do much better here. There's no reason to just sort of underestimate this squad, as we do see those third picks coming out.
And especially D2 Hustlers focusing in on, I feel like, not Rise's hero pool. While we have been seeing him very successfully playing that Troll and that Sven, letting the Luna through, I think they've sort of found the ace in the hole, and getting Rises on a hero that he's incredibly comfortable with. I'm not sure what D2 Hustlers are really going to pick to match that. And again, with EgoBoys, the way they've drafted it so far, having last pick, really everything is sort of blind. While the supports are sort of in place at this point, they were still waiting. They're probably going to ban out some more offlaners. At least that's what I would ban out if I was on the Hustler side. But this Luna does feel like sort of a glaring hole that they've kind of left open. Imagine D2 Hustlers maybe pick Ursa here, or okay, PL instead.
All right. I don't believe we've seen a PL pick so far in this event. There have been maybe 2-3 bans on the hero so far, but not a lot of attention paid to him as an actual pick. So Yuma is assumingly sort of going to have something to show us here with this hero, but I feel like there's a bit of a reason why that PL is no longer really that sort of favorable choice. Obviously still viable, but there's so many situations here where it feels like other heroes do just about everything he wants to do that little bit better, but they're going to give it a go here. We'll see what the PL can do in this lineup.
And it feels like when they take that Wind Ranger out, they are sort of securing that PL pick. If anything, taking it out of the hands of Alone if they did want to flex it in that situation. But again, it is a risky hero. It's very slow. It's something that if they're able to get a more tempo hero for King Tekka, they might struggle. And Yuma, while he does, it's very similar. Yuma and Rises, both, we see these very, very big carry players who like these very farm-intensive heroes, and we won't have to worry about the Medusa. We won't have to worry about the Bristleback, it looks like, this time around. But again, it feels like this PL might be a little bit too slow, especially if they're able to bust down the door. They have the heals. They don't have the Enchantress, but you will be able to put that living armor on this Luna and have those heroes to stand behind her, that it feels like this PL might get shut out of the game a little bit. But they're picking it into this lineup. So like you said, Yuma has to have a plan. They must have an idea, especially for what Papa Tudi's playing. Otherwise, they wouldn't pick it.
Right. I mean, they saw all 4 of those EgoBoys picks before going in for the PL. So the plan is there, just not 100% sure what it might be. And as you were sort of mentioning, it may come down to what that final hero is. But before we get to see those last picks, we are moving through phase 3 of the bans first. And at this stage, both teams are keying in on that offlane position. D2 Hustlers remove both the Axe and the Legion Commander, while EgoBoys go in for the ban on the Mars first. What else could they take out here? The Centaur is still in the pool, although at this point that feels like a hero that really both sides might actually want for themselves, as EgoBoys will instead use the final ban on the Leshrac.
It is a little bit peculiar, and I don't know if D2 Hustlers would necessarily go for the Leshrac, but it feels like, again, it's going to round out your lineup. Up until that PL, they don't really have a consistent tower hitter, so those early objectives are going to really be hard for D2 Hustlers to get. And they might be making the call that this Wind is going to be Papa Tudi's hero, as it is just the hard counter to that Viper. So banning out a lot of what King Tekka might want to play on the Hustler side, but I feel like they're going to flex it. I feel like they might end up putting that Viper versus the PL anyway, just because it is going to feel pretty free. But they have done one thing, and that is make this Viper feel like it's a pretty bad hero this game. If he does end up going versus the PL, they've got 2 ways to purge it off. But no, we're going to get some cheese here.
Okay.
Okay. Papa Tudi Brood.
That, all right, I really don't know. A lot of the time when we see this Broodmother, it feels very much like a sort of hit or miss hero, which you sort of said it was sort of a cheese pick. It still hasn't quite sort of shaken off that sort of stigma attached to it, because to a certain extent, yeah, that is how it plays. If the Brood doesn't find that success early, then there's still contributions to be made, but it really is all about sort of getting that control, trying to apply that pressure as quickly as possible. So D2 Hustlers, if it works out, they're going to look like geniuses and they're going to feel pretty damn confident. But if EgoBoys can sort of weather that early storm, then I have some concerns about the Brood moving into maybe the mid and late game scenarios. But really, we still need to see what EgoBoys have planned here. One last pick for them to try and deal with the Broodmother selection. They've got 20 seconds on the clock, though, so they can afford to take maybe a little bit of time to think this one over. And now we really have to get that decision. Where is this Viper going? Do they commit to it in the off lane? Do they try to sneak it back onto a lone? We were both sort of hoping earlier in the draft that they don't go for that latter option. So, alright, looks like that is going to be the play. The Underlord comes out for the EgoBoys side, so that should be a lone on the Viper once again.
And Divine Llama is going to take up the Brood. And that does mean we are going to have that Wind versus Viper matchup. So Papa Tootie will be able to hopefully run away with it a little. We saw whenever Bryle played that matchup, he did sort of work the Wind. Wind was definitely not having a great time in that lane, but that's just Bryle things. But the Pit Lord, it will work. It is going to mean that you don't have that sort of great lockdown. You do have a bunch of annoying routes. It is really going to be obnoxious for them to get in and out of these fights. And yet again, we're seeing a lineup on the D2 Hustler side where you aren't incredibly mobile. I say that as you do have that Broodmother phasing through the trees and you do have that peel with the Doppel, but it does feel like they've doubled down on that sort of route slow based lockdown that will make it pretty annoying for D2 Hustlers to get in and out of these fights. And yet again, there isn't really a fantastic target for this 1437 Nyx Assassin to prey upon. You would hope that you would find a lone in the jungle maybe, and then just an easy rotation from Papa Tootie. But again, we're going to need Papa Tootie, see him get active, see him get out on the map. We saw it a little bit more in that second game from the D2 Hustlers, but in the first game, if he falls behind a little bit, he's going to need to keep farmed up. He's going to need to keep making these plays. And versus Viper, you can definitely make those plays. Again, Viper isn't the most mobile of heroes, but at the same time, they're going to create sort of a stronghold. EgoBoys are definitely going to set up on their towers and they're going to stay there. They're going to make it their own territory.
Yeah, it'll be, well, interesting to see exactly how much early momentum that D2 Hustlers will build up with this lineup. So we are going to be loading into it. Game 1 of our third series of the day getting started. D2 Hustlers off the back of a 1-1 draw in their previous matchup against Hikori. Now looking for an opportunity to sort of build themselves up further. Need more points on the board here, but to be honest, that's sort of the story for both of these squads. Both EgoBoys and D2 Hustlers could seriously use some further points at this stage in that group stage. So quite a bit on the line here already. Kind of feels weird to say that at the halfway mark, and obviously go back to the point where there is no elimination in this group stage. Everyone will advance to the playoffs, but the difference potentially between upper and lower bracket could spell an early end to the run for either of these squads. So going up against each other here, everybody is maybe feeling a little bit more of that pressure. We'll see how they respond. As of right now, though, no initial pushes across the river outside of, well, I guess Divine Llama sort of setting up in this top lane, but this is just going to be standard Broodmother stuff. Setting up those webs.
Yep, and maybe 1437 going to get punished. He does have the boots. Tano needs to find the stun. Okay.
Lucent Beam comes out into the Earth Spike, but they're just not fast enough. Those boots get the Nyx Assassin away, but never mind, no but. Kara comes in hoping to make something happen, but he doesn't skill up any abilities, so the Nyx will hit him with the Impale, and 1437 walks away. He does take a little bit of damage there, but certainly beats dying in that scenario, as he will now make his way top to try and help out this Brood. There are too many damn legs in this lane already.
Definitely, and we also see mid alone skilling up that corrosive skin level 1. The big reason they didn't have that big attempt on the 1437 is you don't really want to skill up any abilities versus the Wind in this matchup. You just want to sort of make Papa Tootie take as much damage as possible, get the trades, even though Alone is eating a little bit of damage here, but again, very good individually skilled player. They have to be pretty scared of each other.
Yeah, there is almost a certain tipping point, right, with that corrosive skin, especially early on here. If you go in for the occasional right click, then yeah, the return damage does sort of make you feel pretty bad, but Papa Tootie in that instance, finding that sort of break-even point, he gets enough right clicks in where he does well more, or far more damage than he actually takes in return. So that doesn't necessarily mean he should just sort of jump in onto Alone whenever possible, but it is nice to see Papa Tootie trying to sort of stretch the limits here of what he can get away with, as Alone is suffering quite a bit of damage here early on. He does come to the lane with those tangos, though, so overall he should be okay, but it is concerning if Papa Tootie can sort of continue getting that damage in onto him. Papatuti actually very sort of liberally using the wind run here as well, just to make sure that those poison attacks, or really any damage at all for that matter from the right clicks, will come out from the Viper. So this is pretty impressive for the Wind Ranger. Obviously, we're 2 minutes in, so I'm not exactly going to declare anybody the winner of the lane just yet, but Papatuti is holding his own quite nicely here, and how's he doing last hit-wise? Pretty much on par with the Viper.
Yeah, if anything, Alone is pulling ahead a little bit in the deny department, but it doesn't feel the worst, and now that water runes are up, Alone is going to probably drag this creep wave.
And at what point does Papatuti break off for the runes? Who knows? But up in the top lane, Kara, that's a problem. One more hit will do him in. No, it won't. The salve is going to buy him a little bit of time. Divine Llama, can he drop down another web to keep this chase going? No. No one cares about trees here. The pathing is free, but the Treant's able to get himself out. So, a nifty play from Kara to avoid that death. Divine Llama just didn't quite have enough to finish it off, but it does take the Treant sort of out of the lane for a little bit here as he's going to try to regen up, but he actually has really nothing left to work with.
And you'd think that in this lane, he'd want to get points up in that Insatiable Hunger, but Divine Llama instead gets the Silken Bullet. It's a really dumb spell, especially with the mischance just being 40% at all levels. It feels like Rises does struggle just a little bit, but with this wave coming in, he should be feeling pretty fine. Meanwhile, 1437 gets the pull off, so Divine Llama just getting a lot of these levels.
Yeah, going relatively well for the Broodmother here so far. Of course, well, later on in the game, we'll see if he sort of starts getting more aggressive once those Spiderlings are up. But for now, they are going to jump in onto Rise, so they hit him with the Bola. 1437. Doesn't quite have the mana, though, for the Impale, but he is going to try... tries for the Carapace. It stuns up Kara, but Rises didn't really care. He's able to walk away. So that's 10, 15 mana, sort of separating 1437 from what could have been a First Blood attempt, but it's at least some nice damage onto the Luna. They sort of force her back, and now Kara getting hit up as well. We do see Divine Llama now getting that point up into the Insatiable Hunger, as you said, and he is going to work with it. This is a lot of damage that Kara is taking. He will eventually be forced to back up, but now the Leech Seed actually with 2 points up in it, so he is regenning quite nicely. A little bit of extra sustain for him.
Yeah, and that's the point where sometimes we see heroes feed in these lanes, but the Brood with the Silken Bullet is actually very adept versus the Treant Protector. Really, if you do miss any of your right clicks, the trade just feels absolutely lost. So Divine Llama is going to have a relatively nice time here.
Bola out onto Rises once again, but at this point it just feels almost casual, which is kind of weird to say considering its cooldown, but he just sort of keeps on tossing it out, just trying to push the Luna back a little bit more as Divine Llama now drops down some more webs. He's going to push his way into that sort of jungle camp. So this is where the Brood really starts to get annoying. Rises obviously can sort of farm up well in the lane, but if the Brood is able to sort of supplement that farm with some of these camps, and if he can prevent Kara from really getting any sort of equilibrium control with those pulls, then life is going to get a little bit difficult for them as 1437 goes in for the Impale. Doesn't really hit onto much of anything, but yeah, I think he might have gotten the last hit there. I think he did hit it up.
Well, and at the same time, in the bottom lane, you have King Tekka having a really nice time on the Pit Lord. Yuma can't really do much, and it looks like they got a kill on a Pandago.
And Pandago taken down, tries to sort of save it with the Fortune's End, but not going to be enough. EgoBoys will draw first blood, and Yuma, I mean, there's nothing he could do there. He was too far away from it, and didn't really have the mana to commit for anything either, so simply has to watch his teammate die. Meanwhile, Papatuti, nice rotation in. Look at the Shackle onto Rises into the power shot. And they are going to be able to pick that one up. Rises just didn't see that rotation coming until it was too late. The Viper wasn't really able to give his teammates quite the heads up that they needed.
And we've seen Alone sort of stacking, and they got to kill bottom onto Yuma, I think. Yeah, left his teammate alone for just a little bit. Pandago TP'd mid, I believe, to hold the tower from the Viper. So there are definitely trades across the map, but this PL is not having a good time. A lot worse time than this Pit Lord. And now you're going to see Alone, I think, try to take that stack, or no, they're going to stack it one more time. And this Viper, we'll have to see if he gets that Boot of Travel first, or Alone is the player we saw the other day just immediately going for that BKB. I hope we don't see it again, because I felt like that griefed him the 2 times he did, but we'll have to see what he decides to do, especially having Rises on that more farm-oriented safe laner.
Yeah, the BKB build is very much something I would like to see. It is interesting. Interesting is the word. Interesting doesn't always mean good or successful, though, but I would like to see him go for something else, something a little bit more immediately impactful. That was the problem when we saw that BKB build from him before. He picked it up and he almost got it kind of too early, as we do see a bit of a problem here for 1437, caught out in the river. Pandago not going to be able to help him out, as Alone will come in to get the kill, and now the Oracle is on the run. Pit of Malice not up for another sort of 8 seconds, though, so I'm not sure really how far they're willing to take this, but poison attacks are coming through. Gonna get a little bit of damage, a little bit of slow. Pandago still on the run, but at this point, oh, there's the pit again. Gonna be able to drop it. Fortune's End, though, immediately thrown out, but Tano's still in with the Earth Spike, and they will find it. Alone gets both of those kills as well.
And this Viper, we'll see what he ends up going for, but King Tekka, a little bit more obvious with his build, is getting that Atos, and these small items are going to come out incredibly fast, but Rises, he is sequestered in the top lane. Oh, he's just going to TP out.
Okay.
Well, that's a little neat.
Smart play for him. TP is to the tier 2 mid, actually, so he's just going to rotate into the jungle at this stage. And the Wind Ranger had already used the Shackle to sort of start off that fight, didn't have it available to cancel the TP, and at that point the Broodmother's too far away, and I don't really think Divine Llama could have done much of anything either. So, heads-up play from the Luna to jump out of that fight, but now there's a bit of an interesting one, sort of a forced lane swap here. Rises will take over mid, while Alone is actually going to be the one shifting over to take that stacked camp. Although he's got to be careful, a little low on HP, but looks like he will be just fine. Couple of neutral items actually picked up by him as well.
Gonna get a Haste Rune as well. 2.2k gold on him. I wonder what the Viper's gonna end up going, but it does feel like everybody on EgoBoys is farming up. They've been incredibly efficient with their rotations, and I think they got a dive kill top. Yeah, not much. Somebody has to deal with it, but nobody can really kill that Broodmother or deal with the spiders at this point of the game.
Sacrificing your Treant there, it's going to hurt a little bit, but it's not going to be too bad. But okay, Alone, all right. That's just a straight-up jump in. Dead. Those Spiderlings, though,
what the?
Okay. I'm not sure I have an explanation for that one. I think he just didn't see all the Spiderlings there. I mean, it's way too much damage for him to deal with, especially considering how low on HP he was before they even started that fight. So that just felt maybe like a bit of an overestimation of his own strength. I don't know what happened there, really.
And you see, he's going to queue up the BKB now, and the right hero to deal with these spiders is probably the Pit Lord. You're going to need to stun them if you're Tano. They just barely survive, all of them, and that's really unfortunate. And the Haste Rune did just tick out, and actually it's going to be King Tekka without any spells. He's dead.
Just straight up dead. Bola slows him down. Divine Llama gets the kill. Tano, you might want to clear out of here. He's next up on the chopping block if he doesn't leave now. As Divine Llama not going to be able to chase any further than that. However, over in that south side river, Papatuti, yeah, he's in some trouble. He does have a bottle charge still, but it's not going to come out in time. And actually, he did try to pop it. It just didn't really save him. As Alone will be able to pick up another kill. So the Viper may have made a bit of a mistake top going in onto the Spider, but he is able to find a kill there. But now Tano, he didn't clear out. Didn't get himself away. Tried to circle around a little bit too long, and Divine Llama makes him pay for it.
And this is the power of the Brood, especially when you get to pick it up on the Radiant side, so you end up playing in this dire jungle. All the camps are so close to each other, you're really going to be able to eat away at a lot of the EgoBoys farm. And it feels like they sort of need to sidestep this Broodmother. They really don't have a good solution to it.
Okay, King Tekka going in there with the Firestorm. The problem is the majority of those Spiderlings had already pushed off into the jungle, so it would have been a nice play if he could have gotten the bulk of them and maybe tried to take him out with the DOT, but as it stands, Divine Llama is able to protect those children, and he may look for a bit of an aggressive play here, or does he go for the kill or just the tower? It looks like he wants the kill. As King Tekka, smart move to TP away, but he's very nearly taken down before the TP even completes, so Divine Llama really has no fear right now. He knows what he's capable of, and he knows at the moment no one can deal with him.
And you see they place these wards just so that way they can see the rotation of the spider. As soon as they see the spider making rotations towards that mid T1, maybe they'll start to have a little bit more of a response. But I really don't think EgoBoys are going to be equipped to deal with Divine Llama for a long time. And he's going for this hood build where I think he actually has a full pipe getting sent out right now. And you see the rotation towards mid, and this is what I was talking about. They're going to fight.
Papatuti hexed up. He does get healed up by his teammate, though, so he's not dead just yet. False Promise even going to be committed, but now that feels like a bit of an overextension. Kara goes in for the overgrowth and basically baits his teammates into it. Alone is going to get hit up by the spider. A little bit more damage needed. Can he get it? Yes, he can. One more hit will get the job done. Alone taken down. Now here comes Yuma into the fight. Tano not going to be able to survive. The shackle latches in between two, and that's just a disaster. EgoBoys will lose pretty much everybody in that lane. And now their tower is going to be going down as well. Tier 1 should not be lasting all that long here. There is a glyph, however, to try and hold it, but
Kara too.
I think it's just going to only delay the death of the tower, not prevent it as Kara gets sniped out. Divine Llama starts it off. Papatuti comes in with the power shot, and that's just absolutely horrible for EgoBoys. They really just don't see that rotation coming. You talked about them sort of trying to set up some of those wards in the jungle, but Divine Llama still just gets in there, and there's really not a whole lot that they could do once the full strength of D2 Hustlers was directly on top of EgoBoys in that middle lane.
Well, and I know that you did get brooded. You only had one pick to sort of solve this issue. You did have the last pick of the draft, but I was wondering if maybe they would swap it around, force this Viper to have a little bit of a bad time, go for the Kunkka, go for the Void Spirit, try anything to get this Broodmother in sort of bad straits. But now it feels like Divine Llama can just do whatever he wants. Gonna sit at the top of the net worth board, and meanwhile Rises, while he is on his signature Luna, I don't feel like the amount of farm that they're going to put onto him is really going to come to anything, at least not for a while. And with the way that Divine Llama has itemized, there's really no way for him to die to the EgoBoys lineup for at least the first 25 minutes of this game. He would need to get incredibly out of position for them to kill him. And really, he's just going to be the monster in this top lane. And you see, even alone, he's just going to get eaten a little bit here.
I think this was an incredibly... Oh, hold on. Nope. Alone? Is he dead? Is he just going to be taken down here? The Spiderling's not able to finish him off, but Divine Llama does get hit up by the Atos into that Pit of Malice, and I think they've actually got him. Finger of Death comes through from Tano, and they do find that kill. So it takes them about 4 heroes into the top lane, but they do finally get in onto that Broodmother. And Divine Llama, in that instance... I mean, he thought he could just get a pretty easy kill onto the Viper. Instead, he overextends and gets caught out.
And I'm surprised he hasn't bought some of his own wards, given himself a little bit of that buffer. And you did see that Rises was forced out of his jungle. He wasn't going to feed either, so he's farming now in the same area where that Broodmother was, as she is still respawning. But yeah, I don't think if you're Divine Llama, you give those up, but it'll be fine. You're still going to come back top. You're going to do the exact same thing. And he is not playing for his own game at all. He has Greaves queued up. He's got a Halberd queued up. He is really still playing to the tune that Yuma is going to be the one to win this game for him. And I wonder if it's going to end up being the right decision. It definitely feels a little bit risky.
Yeah, it's one of those... Initially, I can understand this thought process, right? But once Divine Llama so very clearly wins that top lane, you got to wonder, as you said, if it maybe isn't smarter to try and pivot into more of a damage-dealing hero. But Divine Llama, I guess, is sort of set on this path already, felt that it was maybe too late or not wise to sort of bail out of it at this point, but well, it's working out for him well so far, and his teammates now finding some kills elsewhere on the map. Papatuti and Pandego catch out King Tekka in that north side jungle, and they are going to be able to bring him down, so they might have to sort of wait a little while for Yuma to get online, but if Papatuti and Divine Llama can really continue to make these plays, then they're going to be able to create that space. And over on the EgoBoys side, as you were sort of mentioning earlier on, not really sure how quickly they're going to build up, but they are making a play now onto 1437, as they do catch him out in the bottom lane, but Papatuti TP'd in. Pandego's TP, though, will be cancelled, so it doesn't look like there's going to be a fight here after all. Instead, they were trying to pressure up the tier 2 tower, but the glyph will be used defensively, and Divine Llama's not going to be able to fully threaten it just yet, but he is going back in. But at this point, King Tekka has arrived. There's another TP coming forward from Tano, so the Brood may want to try and clear out of here, but the Earth Spike will lock her down. Tano doesn't have the Finger of Death, though, and without that, they can't really get the kill.
Oh, and I was going to say, you see the Dark Rift out because they're terrified of the spiders still. They don't want to fall here, but they've rotated literally, I think, not everyone, but it feels a little bit weird. With the Earth Spike, though, these should be dying. Nice.
Nice bit of gold going their way. All right, clearing through the entire sort of army of Spiderlings. But Divine Llama not going to be deterred. He's just going to keep on pushing out this top lane, really, until that tier 2 tower is gone, and maybe even further than that. But while he is sort of keeping heroes occupied in the top lane, we do see Yuma starting to get a little bit more for himself here. Went for the Hood first for a little bit more in the way of durability, but the Diffusal is now online, so he might look to get a bit more aggressive. Speaking of which, yeah, Papatuti and 1437 pushing in. They've caught Rises out, but he's a little bit too far away for them to really feel confident jumping in onto. So instead, they're going to try and back off. 1437 with a nice 2-man stun with the Carapace, but Tano's still chasing. Got to go in for the Hex, but the Shackle. Oh, that's well placed, but it's not enough. 1437 still hit up by that Earth Spike, and then Tano drops him with the Finger.
Yeah, and you have to be careful. Rises had that sentry down. the vision game really coming in from EgoBoys does feel really nice, especially getting some of that vision that was placed down for the spider to play in this top lane. And oh boy, King Tekka maybe just
King
barely
Tekka
lives.
jumped in on top,
Oh,
tried
nope.
to TP.
Oh, wait, no, I couldn't.
He was so close. He almost had it, but Divine Llama sort of drops him low, and Papatuti comes in for the sort of executioner's blow with that power shot.
Oh, Rises is up here.
Wait.
They're trying to set up with the Eclipse.
Okay. Can they get this done? Broodmother dropping low, and yeah, she's dead. Kara actually comes in with the overgrowth as well, just to make sure Divine Llama wasn't going to be able to sort of scurry away, so losing the Underlord there is a bit unfortunate, but the trade-off for the Brood is incredibly valuable. I think EgoBoys, I'm not sure if that was the plan the whole time. Uh-oh. Well, it's not going to matter what the plan was now, as Ryze is in some trouble. Stun coming out from Tano, but it's not going to be enough. Ryze is dropping low. Living Armor can't save him, as D2 Hustlers find the kill. A couple of tips going Ryze's way as well. That's a little harsh, but they do find that pickoff. Luna taken down, and D2 Hustlers will salvage that play.
And it's a nice impale after the fact from the Nyx Assassin. But yeah, it feels a little bit strange. I think Pendago needed to be a little bit closer to Divine Llama there, then he would have survived. And Kara will try to be as annoying as possible. They don't want to give up these towers, and actually Yuma.
Yeah, Yuma might want to clear out. He is going to use that doppelganger to try and get away initially. Tano, meanwhile, hit up by the impale. Papatuti coming in as well, dropping down that power shot. They need maybe 1 or 2 more hits. Tano, though, trying to sort of lead them through the tree line, but it's not going to matter. Papatuti still gets the kill. And now EgoBoys got to be careful. They could potentially get wrapped around on the back line, as Papatuti's going to do exactly that. Shackle comes through, locking up King Tekka. They get the stun down on it 2 alone as well. Now in comes Divine Llama, but the BKB will be activated by the Viper. He's going to be able to pull back for the time being, but this is not really a fight EgoBoys can take any longer. They just have to retreat and regroup in the base.
And I think now finally we'll see that tier 2 tower go. But still, a little bit of an awkward play. Tano was the one who was really trying to allow his teammates to make an attempt onto Yuma, keeping Pendago stunned up in the back line, but then they just say, hey, what's this lion doing behind us? Let's go kill him. They get him out. Rises respawns. He doesn't want to TP back there, because if he dies again, then this game is going to feel a lot harder. So we'll see him sort of plant his feet now in the enemy jungle. But I think at the same time, that all led off with Divine Llama dying top. Can't die anymore on the spider, but with the way that he's itemized, I think it is going to continue to get more difficult to kill him. You have Greaves and I think 3 gold here, and he's going to send it out. And yeah, they're going to just go into the pit.
First Roche of the game, so just the Aegis available, but that is going to be enough to potentially sway this next fight and swing it in their favor, as they are jumping in. Roche, well, it's not the fastest we've ever seen, but it's far faster than any response to come out from EgoBoys, so should be able to take this down. 1437 is going to run some interference here as well. And now Papatuti actually may just be able to get in. The wind run is going to be there. He needs the shackle. No, he doesn't. Power shot will come in instead, and Papatuti just straight up finds the kill.
And unfortunately, I think yet again we're going to find ourselves in a game where we are going to see a lot of split push. We've got a Luna and 2 boots of travel, and ooh, King Tekka is just going to immediately TP out, knows that he can't deal with the spider, isn't even going to play around, because if he stayed a little bit longer, Papatuti would have been there to find the punishment, but no creep waves for D2 Hustlers to make any plays. It's mode split push again.
Yeah, it's it's fun enough every once in a while, but sort of back-to-back matches, and it starts to feel a little bit grating, and we're not even the ones having to play against it. We just have to sit here and watch it. But if you're D2 Hustlers, really, other than trying to force more fights here, you don't have too many ways to immediately sort of bring this to an end. But the split push is, it's not exactly a means to an end for EgoBoys. It's not a way in which they're going to be able to win this game straight up. It's just their means of trying to sort of draw things out and put themselves in a better position for a later timing window. So at a certain point, if you're EgoBoys, you are going to have to take this fight, but they would prefer for that point to be maybe 10 to 15 minutes from now if they have their way. And considering the fact that Yuma's still holding on to the Aegis, it's perfectly understandable that they don't really want to force their way into a full-on pitched battle.
And oh, King Tekka.
Might not have a choice. Yeah, King Tekka's going to get caught out. He's in the fight whether he wants to be or not. Started off with the Impale into the Shackle shot. Focus fires there the whole time with the double damage rune, and there's not a whole lot that King Tekka can do on that one. He is relatively tanky, but that's just too much.
And I'm surprised we're not seeing him make sort of a switch over to that Vanguard. A Crimson Guard would be killer this game. It's fantastic versus Wind, PL, and the Broodmother. So I feel like that would be a really smart, easy way for him to build up. But at the same time, if you're D2 Hustlers, while you probably won't be able to find too many crazy plays up until you get what I feel like needs to be a blink dagger on both Papatuti and 1437, they're eyeing up the Luna. Well, they've got a tree.
They've already got damage onto Alone. Now they push onto Rises. Good play in there for the stun. And now Alone, he's got to pop. Yeah, he's got to pop that BKB, but the physical damage is just too much. He's still dropping. Can they actually save him? Yes, they can. Kara coming in with that overgrowth, but Spike Carapace will be locking down multiple heroes on the side of EgoBoys. The Impale comes in up to 2. The Shackle Shot follows it up, and I'm not entirely sure if EgoBoys are ready for this. Tano's going to have to fall back. He's going to be able to get back into the base, but the only reason he escapes is because Kara is basically going to take his place. As Yuma jumps in for the kill, they take down the tree, but if you're looking for a silver lining for EgoBoys, it's the fact that Alone will survive, but that's still 2 heroes dead, and all the while, Davai Lama pushed his way through the tier 3 tower up top.
And now King Tekka, he's under 10. Oh, no.
Is he even going to get it
Yeah.
out? No. Oh, that
what a
shackle. Come on. That's... Oh, that's just not fair. King Tekka taken down. Tano falls inside of his own fountain. Alone is alone. Rises will be respawning, but by this point, it's already too late. They've just straight up lost the fight. They're going to lose the top lane of Rax here as well. So things are starting to get a little bit more sort of grim for EgoBoys. Full lane of Rax taken at the 23-minute mark.
And now it just feels like you're going to push in, finish the game. It felt like they didn't have a creep wave for a second there, but Davai Lama didn't even need to show up to that fight, that skirmish that started off with the Luna dying. And I think in similar fashion to the Undying game, we're going to see a game where maybe this Luna's able to finish her BKB, maybe she's not, and the game is just going to sort of end based around that fact, because really they haven't itemized. They're not tanky on any of their heroes. And look, King Tekka, he's just dead.
Yeah, he's can't get out. This build, I mean, I understand what he was trying to do initially with the Rod of Atos, but now it just kind of looks silly as he throws that out, and then that's it. There's nothing else for him to fight with. There's no other sort of durability for him, but he does buy back into the fight, so he is in here again. Davai Lama, though, a little bit more concerned with trying to dive the tower. But now, he may have gone a little bit too far. Force Staff is going to get him out of the radius of that Pit of Malice, but now the Hex will come through. Rises is TPing into the tree line as well, so they are going to be able to sort of surround Davai Lama. Can they actually get him, though? The Eclipse comes through, and they do manage to get it done, but back in the middle lane, Yuma and Papatuti still trying to hit that tier 3 mid, but they don't actually bring it down.
And if it's able to heal up, I think Rises, yeah, break your smoke, make sure this tower doesn't die, because you do have that tree and protector. If they can get a little bit more here, it still feels like you need some incredible throws for this game to really swap. Aegis expires in 17 seconds.
Yuma needs to die right now. Can he just jump in? No, the False Promise actually going to bail him out, but I'm not entirely sure he wants that, although if he can get the... you get the Aegis regen, that would have worked, but it looks like, yeah, they're going to be able to bail out with just about everybody. Kara may actually make an escape here as well. Needs to get back into the base. Davai Lama, though, force-staffing himself forward, and there's the Yules. So Kara will be left behind and should be taken down here, but the teammates are coming, rushing in to try and defend him, but that actually may have just sort of baited them into a fight as well. As Kara does end up falling, he will buy back immediately, though. So the Treant is back into the fight. EgoBoys, I mean, they're ready to try and defend this, but at this point, I'm not sure there's actually going to be a fight here. That Aegis did time out on the Phantom, oh god, on the Phantom Lancer, as King Tekka fakes out that pit about 3 or 4 times. And that's it, yeah. D2 Hustlers will back off without the Aegis. I don't think they have quite the same degree of confidence pushing into 5 on the high ground.
And really, it's just EgoBoys now. They're going to be able to heal up their towers. This is a little bit of time sort of purchased for themselves. But yet again, I don't really know in what direction they take this game. They need to find people in these sidelines. They need to sort of get the split push game going again, so that way they can find these pickoffs with Tano. They need to find something. They don't have Finger for another 40 seconds, but still they need to foster some sort of play. If they just sit in their base, they're going to lose this game. And this is allotted a lot of time to Yuma. And as soon as he gets this Scotty, I feel like that's when we're really going to see the game sort of end. And it looks like they actually got the Spider. They need a little bit more, though. She's really fast.
Davai Lama still has a Force Staff. That's going to get him away. The Guardian Greaves popped as well, and they can't catch him. Davai Lama's just going to scurry away, and now the reinforcements are coming. They actually want the fight. Shackle connecting onto Kara. Just bought back. Can't afford to go down again, but doesn't really get much of a choice in the matter as Kara will fall. Rises, though, popping the BKB. Looking to push forward. The Eclipse only a few seconds away, so if they can hold on, they might be able to throw that out there, but at this point, Alone has already fallen, and Rises will simply TP himself out. But while he gets away, the rest of EgoBoys not going to be quite as fortunate as King Tekka. This is the single most optimistic ult I think I have seen so far. He was not getting out with that channel duration. And he will go down. King Tekka will fall, and here we go. D2 Hustlers back into their opponent's base, looking for the tier 3 tower. They get through that one pretty quickly. And now the middle lane of Rack should be falling as well. There's just straight up no one here to defend this.
And while Rises was able to get those Manta Illusions out to the bottom lane, it really feels like the game is sort of coming to a close here. They've sort of run out of plays. They've ran the gambit. Yuma doesn't even have his Scotty, but there's no real reason for them to back out at this point. Rises doesn't have BKB. He does have Eclipse, but if 1437 finds that Yules, then that's just your Luna dead again. It feels really weird. D2 Hustlers need to do some crazy throw here if they want to actually lose this game. I really don't think EgoBoys can win. D2 Hustlers need to mess up.
Yeah, they're just sort of hoping for something to break their way on EgoBoys, but it's not looking good so far. Alone just can't leave. Slowed up continuously as Divine Llama brings him down. One tier 4 tower goes down, the second tower falling as well, and I don't know. Alone's going to buy back. They're going to give it a go. They've got to try and do something. The Eclipse is available, as we mentioned earlier on. Meanwhile, Alone pops a BKB himself in onto the backline, but that HP is just really just melting away. It rises, though, in with the Eclipse. They're going to try and go for these kills, but those bounces, they're just too spread out. They're not really able to focus anyone down. Alone has now fallen. Pandago does eventually get taken down himself, but now the Shackle is going to latch together both King Tekka and Rises, and they're slowly but surely being pushed back as Kara is dropping low as well. Yuma taking that Treant Protector out of the fight. He'll turn his attention now onto the Underlord as King Tekka will fall. And I think that's pretty much it. The Ancient has been exposed. There's no GG just yet, but Rises is not going to survive, and there it is. Kara will throw it out. The Gs will be deployed, and D2 Hustlers will take game 1.
Yeah, I feel like D2 Hustlers got everything they sort of wanted. And this PL, while you bought it a lot of time, you had this Spider that really bought it a lot of time. I felt like past that waning stage, he was never really under any threat to a certain degree. Divine Llama, while he could have gotten a little bit greedier with his itemization, I feel like at the end of the day, what works, works. He bought a 4-staff. It was honestly pretty crucial in a lot of those moments where the pit was actually landing. He kept that chain route from happening. And everyone else, even just the win versus Viper, it feels like they were able to win the 2 lanes they needed to win, and they won them so hard that EgoBoys really didn't have a comeback mechanism. And again, we see this BKB first build from Alone, and I feel like it falls way too far behind. While you do have it for these sort of crazy tier 2 defenses, I feel like you end up in those crazy tier 2 defenses because you have no other items. We don't see the Lance built. We don't see the Kai Assange. We don't see really much of anything. And I think to leverage that first pick Viper, you need to keep that flexibility. And they were able to last pick that Pit Lord, but it didn't feel like that was the answer they needed to that Broodmother, to the PL, to really anything to once they got that far in the draft.
Yeah, it just... In theory, the Underlord to try and deal with a lot of mobile heroes with his lockdown is something that sort of makes sense, but in actual practice, didn't work out. The Underlord didn't have quite that much lockdown, and Alone on the Viper, I think we've seen it, what was this, the 3rd or 4th time now for EgoBoys, where he's gone for that early BKB, and it just doesn't work. I don't really know. He pushes into the fight with the Magic Immunity, but then you have really nothing else to deploy, so EgoBoys, I really truly do hope that they just back away from it now. This lesson has been sort of pounded into their heads over and over again, and in game 1 they still haven't sort of taken that lesson to heart. They try for the Viper again in Alone's hands, and it really truly does not work out for them. But it's only game 1. This is a 2-game series, so there is a chance for them to sort of turn things around, but they're going to need to make some adjustments draft-wise. I don't think they necessarily need to cut the Viper out entirely, but putting Alone on it again just feels like it's not going to be enough. But we'll have to find out. EgoBoys with a chance at redemption. Meanwhile, D2 Hustlers looking for a chance to take the 2-0 sweep here and really move themselves up those standings if they could get that clean 2-0 sweep. So we will be moving into the Game 2 draft in hopefully just a couple of minutes. Got to take a short break here, but when we return, we'll see how Game 2 plays out. So stick around, and we'll be getting into that one in just a few minutes.